In 1950, the United States shocked the football world. They defeated England 1-0 in one of the greatest upsets the World Cup has ever seen. But the strangest part is this: most Americans barely noticed. How can a country create one of football's most unbelievable stories and still spend decades treating the game like it belonged somewhere else? The American World Cup story did not begin with modern stadiums, global stars, or packed television audiences. It began much earlier. In 1930, at the first FIFA World Cup in Uruguay, the United States was already there. The team beat Belgium, it beat Paraguay, and Bert Paetnoord scored what FIFA later recognized as the first hat-trick in World Cup history. The Americans reached the semifinals. To this day, it remains the country's best World Cup finish. But instead of becoming the start of an empire, it became a strange opening chapter, half-remembered and almost misplaced. 20 years later, the story turned into legend. The United States arrived in Brazil with a team few people expected to trouble anyone. Many of the players were part-time, some had other jobs. Across the field stood England, one of football's great names. This was not supposed to be a contest. Then Joe Geetjens scored. United States 1, England 0. The result became the miracle of below horizont. But miracles need people to remember them. And in America, soccer was still too small, too distant, too easy to ignore. After that, the silence was long. From 1954 through 1986, the U.S. men's national team did not appear at the World Cup. The tournament grew. Brazil became mythology. Germany became power. Argentina became drama. And the United States remained outside the conversation. Still, the game survived. In immigrant communities, college fields, local clubs, and youth leagues, American soccer kept a pulse. It was just waiting for someone to hear it. In 1990, the door finally reopened. The United States qualified for the World Cup again. The results were difficult, but the return mattered. 4 years later, that door became a stage. The United States hosted the 1994 World Cup, and for one summer, the country could not look away. Full stadiums, huge crowds, a tournament that proved football could live in America at scale. 1994 did not finish the story, but it changed what was possible. Then came the work of building something permanent. Major League Soccer gave the domestic game a structure. Youth development mattered more. Stadiums, academies, supporters, and local football cultures began to grow. It was not instant, but for the first time in the modern era, the national team had a foundation connected to its future. And when global stars arrived in MLS, it signaled something important. The world was beginning to take American soccer more seriously. Then came 2002. The United States stunned Portugal, survived the group, and met Mexico in the knockout stage. This was more than a match. It was a rivalry, a test, and a chance to prove the U.S. belonged in a different conversation. The Americans won 2-0. The run ended against Germany, but the message had already been delivered. This was not a team asking to be noticed. It was forcing the world to look. In 2010, the country found a World Cup memory of its own. Against Algeria, the dream was slipping away. The clock was dying. Then Tim Howard released the ball, Landon Donovan kept running. And one touch changed everything. Donovan scored in stoppage time. Across bars, homes, offices, and watch parties, Americans shouted at the same second. The US had not won the World Cup, but it had created a national football memory. 4 years later, Tim Howard gave the country another image. Not a winning goal, not a trophy, resistance. Against Belgium in 2014, Howard stood in front of everything, shot after shot, save after save. The US lost the match, but the memory was pride. Then came the collapse. In 2018, the United States missed the World Cup. For a country that believed it was moving forward, the failure felt impossible. It became a national football crisis, and it forced a harder question. Progress was not automatic. Growth was not the same as success. The rebuild brought a younger team, more players testing themselves in Europe, and a different level of expectation. In 2022, the US returned to the knockout stage. It was not the finished product, but a new generation had arrived. Now the World Cup is back on American soil, but 2026 is not 1994. In 1994, the question was whether soccer belonged in America. In 2026, the question is much more demanding. How far can America go? The stadiums are bigger. The audience is bigger. The pressure is bigger. For the United States, simply being there is not enough anymore. The story has moved past survival. Now it is about ambition. The question is no longer whether soccer belongs in America. The question is whether America is ready to write a chapter the world will remember.